figure we go ahead and start with the man that sat outside the room for 48 hours. Brent Hubbs in Cincinnati. Have you recovered just yet from the NCAA hearing?
I have, and thankfully I did not meet with the house detective and go up and drink some bad milk in a hotel room. So somebody will get that reference, but not many people. I got a good chuckle out of Grant Ramey there, so that was good.
Knockout drops. Knockout drops.
Knockout drops is exactly right. Yeah, I mean, it was long, but it was a situation where I learned a lot in terms of how all the procedure works. And I thought the NCAA might run Adam Sparks and I off the floor or down the hallway somewhere, but we basically were, I don't know, 15 feet or so from the closed door deal. You couldn't hear anything, but you got the chance every time they took a break to see everybody come out, try to read body language and try to figure some of that stuff out. And now you play the waiting game. Obviously, there's going to be some rumors and things that are floating around out there. As I've stated from, for a while now, I mean, I think Tennessee is fully anticipating a fine, a pretty steep fine. I don't know if it's $10 million. I think that's probably on the high end based on everything else that has been kind of previously done out there with other schools. But a fine is coming, and I think some more scholarship reductions of some kind. And we'll see on the postseason ban. It certainly doesn't feel like that's the direction that thing is going. I think Greg Sankey's appearance there, even though the SEC is at those meetings, the fact that he was there and was huddled up with Tennessee as much as he was, I don't think is a bad thing for Tennessee. And again, I think that Dondi Plowman, represented Tennessee well. She obviously works the room. She knew half the committee, I think, from other committees she had been on and things she had been a part of. And I don't think Jeremy Pruitt tried to just absolutely destroy Tennessee. I don't think I mean, I'm not saying he didn't defend himself, because he did, but I don't think in his defense of himself, it was some effort to absolutely eviscerate Tennessee.
Yeah, and I think that was from the urging of people around Coach Pruitt. Like, even if he wanted to try to, go after one or two individualized people, Brent, I think that, getting this behind him and getting back to the field as quick as possible, I think everybody anticipates a show cause. Is that 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is, he needs to get the clock started, so he can get back to the field. And so I think that's probably by design a little bit, trying to play nice and not going there guns a-blazing, trying to burn the house down. And, when you look at Tennessee, I mean, the common fan isn't ever going to see the money, isn't ever going to see the scholarship reductions, unless it would just be so steep that you would be running with 70 scholarship guys for 2 or 3 years, and that's not going to be the case. So, giving a few more scholarships and giving a few $1 million is something the fans aren't going to see, so they don't care. The only thing they would see is not being able to go to a bowl game.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting too, and I mean, Jeremy Pruitt brought a very experienced legal team with him from Birmingham, who has been a part of some NCAA negotiations. Grant,
Cam Newton.
Yeah, I mean, one of his lawyers was one of the chief negotiators in the Cam Newton case and some other cases involving some coaches and things like that. So, that tells you that he knew some kind of penalty. I mean, nobody thought he was going to get off, without any kind of penalty. Now, do you appeal? Can you negotiate? And what do you get in terms of trying to minimize that impact of that punishment?
What Austin talked about with the stuff that fans see, my uneducated view of this is if the NCAA comes after Tennessee and gives something to Tennessee that seems kind of unjust from Tennessee's side of it, is what precedent does that set in the future for other programs? I mean, Tennessee, it feels like they did everything they could do on the front end after their own internal investigation to fire people, to clean house, to do it ASAP as soon as they knew, as soon as they started their own investigation and got results. What precedent does that set moving forward? Why would other programs cooperate the way Tennessee did and act as quickly as Tennessee did if Tennessee does that and then just gets hit here? Like Austin said, if it's money, that's one thing. Fans aren't going to see that. They're not going to feel that as much. It's not going to help you. It's obviously going to hurt you. And so the same thing with scholarships. But if Tennessee got hammered here, which I assume won't happen, but if that did, I don't understand what kind of precedent that would set moving forward with NCAA with other programs wanting to play ball with them if
Well, I
they
think-
punish Tennessee here.
I think you'd immediately see legal action on Tennessee's part to sue the
Right.
NCAA if that is the case. So, I mean, Hubs has been saying that for a while now. It doesn't make any sense. It behooves everybody to, hit you with some fines, a few more scholarships, and move on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that again. Remember,
Great camera work, by the way.
I was going to say, look at this footage. This is top notch.
Oh yeah, it's some.
All right, let me go ahead and fill you in on what was said right here. Yeah, I got to go over and talk to my buddy Brent. Hey, Brent, where's Allison? and what are you doing here in this lobby?
That's pretty much it. And then his wife said, "I didn't recognize you with a camera in my face." That's how that conversation went at 7:15 on Wednesday morning when the hearing got started. I do think, remember this too about Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner. He is a former Committee of Infractions member. He was still on the Committee of Infractions, actually, when Ole Miss went in front of the NCAA for their hearing. Now, obviously, he wasn't a part of that panel because that's a conflict of interest, but he was still on the committee then. He was also co-head of the Transformation Committee, which is the leading reform in NCAA. And part of that reform, Grant, is don't punish the innocent, punish the guilty, punish the coach, punish the assistant coach, but not the kids who had nothing to do with that. Now, the outlier in all of that is Oklahoma State with their basketball program, because there were kids in that program was punished with a bunch of kids who were still in high school when they received their postseason ban and couldn't play, and then lost appeal and had to set out the tournament. So that's the fly in the ointment, if you will. But I think Greg Sankey's presence at this was calculated. I know that the SEC always sends people there. They had two people there. And again, Greg Sankey had lunch. He was huddled with Tennessee's brass the entire time that they were there. And
again, look at that camera work.
Spoke on Tennessee's, basically on Tennessee's behalf. It's not
now when
not,
Casey
go ahead.
when Casey asks you or says she doesn't recognize you behind that phone, I mean, what's your response? Do you say, "Hold still, I need some art for the front of my website," or what?
Smile.
No, I didn't do that. I kind of moved on. I think my next question was, how are the kids?
Smart.
Because it was a little 720 uneasiness at that point. And I'll tell you, I mean, it's really kind of a bizarre deal. In all seriousness, you're setting, Adam Sparks and I were sitting at basically just a table with two chairs next to a column. Okay, so I was facing that room there. The hearing room was off to my left because I was facing where the Tennessee people were coming out. Adam was facing me. He was seeing where Jeremy Pruitt and Casey came out, and we both could see the elevator. So they take a break, and people come out, and they know you're there, and eye contact is just inevitable, right? Like they come out, they look at you, and you look at them, but it's kind of like, what's up? Like, you're kind of looking for any kind of read. Is somebody upset? Is did something not go well in there? What do you make of this person's body language? Were they moving fast just really because they had to go to the bathroom, or were they moving fast because they were mad? You're trying to sort of figure all of that part of it out, and profiling is probably not my greatest strength. So I don't know that. From that standpoint, that you learned a whole lot, but it's a really pretty fascinating process that they go through, and how that room is set up, and the fact that you can't. The Committee on Infractions dictates all the conversation, so you have the committee, the enforcement committee that presents the penalty, the violation, which is kind of like the prosecution, right? They present what it is. They present all their evidence they want to present out of the hours upon hours upon hours of interviews they've done. They present that to the Committee on Infractions. Then the Committee of Infractions can ask Pruitt and his people questions. They can ask Tennessee and their people questions, but Pruitt can't, like if he can't engage with Tennessee and Tennessee can't engage with Jeremy Pruitt. Like there's no back and forth between it. Somebody says something you don't agree with, you can't say, whoa, that's not right. You know what I mean? it's really very procedural that way, which is kind of a fascinating deal. And
no cross examinations. Come on now.
No, not with lawyers. I mean, lawyers aren't going after Tennessee's lawyers are not going after, Jeremy Pruitt and Casey Pruitt, and Jeremy Pruitt's lawyers are not going after Philip Fulmer and Donde Plowman. That's just
he
not.
Good one went after him though. Look at him back there in the background.
That's not how the procedure goes. And so, again, we'll see what comes out. It feels like when everything broke late Thursday, there was just a sense of relief that it was over. Because you got wind that, hey, they're going to plow through and get this thing done at about 3:30 in the afternoon, 4 o'clock. So everybody's like, we're getting ready to get out of here tonight as opposed to Friday, which made everybody happy. But Tennessee seemed more, I don't want to say relaxed, but they seemed a little more, their body language looked a little different on Thursday than it did on Wednesday. So I don't know if that means everything went well. I think Tennessee probably feels like it went about as well as it could go for them, but exactly what that means, we'll find out sometime probably in the month of June.
Where can we sign up for your class? You're going to teach a reading body language class, right?
No.
That's what I was going to say. If it proves to be true, then Hubs will inevitably get asked by lawyers to go and set in on, and the police to go and set in on body language deals and analyze tape. Now, with that said, I do think looking back, we made the mistake as a staff. We should have went with Grant to Cincinnati. He would have hunkered down in the back of the room like Andy and Barney did when they caught Miss Letch, for selling that car with the wood chips in the deal. So
sawdust.
All right, so 6 to 8 weeks, right?
Do what?
6 to 8 weeks, right?
Before that's what we think is 6 to 8 weeks. Some people have asked the question as to why so long. I don't have a great answer on that because on Friday morning, I went from my room. I was leaving to come home. I went from my room and I said, well, I'm going to go past the ballroom one more time in this lobby area just to see if they've cleaned up the room or if anybody's around. And the PR person for the NCAA was walking when the elevator door was open. She was walking into the room, and I waited on her to come back out. And I thought you guys were all leaving yesterday. And she said, no, the Committee on Infractions was having breakfast together before they all departed. Now, I don't know why you can't work towards a resolution that day and kind of put it to bed, but instead everybody goes their separate ways. All across the country, California, Colorado, New York, Atlanta, Texas. And then at some point, I guess they'll get on a Zoom call. They may reconvene somewhere else and get in a room and then hammer out whatever punishment they want to hammer out here over the course of the next, 6 to 8 weeks is kind of what it appears at this point that it's going to be. So hopefully everybody has a feel for things. I know there's a thread on the board that we're talking about. Some people are like, if they get fined, Donde Plowman should be gone and this, that, and the other. A fine's coming. Tennessee's going to get fined. Now, to what degree and how steep that fine is up for plenty of debate. Okay. For example, Air Force was penalized with some level 1 infractions for bringing recruits on campus during COVID. Now, there was no cash exchange, right? They weren't. Nobody was giving a mama some money for medical care or whatever was going on there. As in the Tennessee case, but they were fined, I think $175,000 is what Air Force was fined for their level 1 infractions. Ole Miss's fine does not seem steep, but they had 2 years of postseason ban. Every fan out there would rather Tennessee write a check out of that $80 million that the SEC is going to give them for TV money and say, let's go to a bowl game and move on. And I think that's what Tennessee is hoping for. And I don't want to say feels probably a little better about right now than they did rolling into Cincinnati.
Anybody complaining about a fine and, a handful more scholarships has no sense of reality about the situation. That was always going to happen. You just wanted to avoid what Hubs just said. Because again, as I'll state for the 400th time, fans don't ever see any of that. They never saw the first 16 they gave. Never saw one of them.